This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Yo, this is None Like Joshua, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live.
Welcome to the show to give you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. We got a lot of big news to talk about. It's a really hot week this week, but none hotter than the news that I have for you today related to a lot of video games. We are counting down the days to E3 2019. This will be the first E3 without Sony or PlayStation's appearance on here. In fact, so much so, they already took the first shot already this week in giving us big news on what's to come later this year. So we're going to talk about that. And also, in my new segment, The Final Stage, thanks to our ACMG members, I have the ability to do a review of a book, not a game. This is a book that if you're a fan of Mario, you have to have, if you don't already have it already, and that is the Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia, 30 years of Super Mario Brothers. Now, granted, yes, it doesn't cover the recent stuff, but guaranteed, you're still going to want this, and we'll talk about that later on The Final Stage. So stay tuned for that as well, but let's get into some news right now, because, again, Sony has literally put in the first shot leading into this year's E3, but they're not a part of E3. They decided to step down. They now have the State of Play, which is their showcase, which is supposed to be like the Nintendo Direct, which it's very Nintendo Direct-like at this time. They haven't had the right algorithm and formula to make it as impactful and anticipating as Nintendo Direct. Nintendo Direct does a phenomenal job in doing these showcases every so often, these video conferences. And I think Sony wanted to capitalize on that and do it that way. They haven't gotten their niche yet. They haven't found a type of way to really make it epic as Nintendo Direct does. Nintendo Direct constantly comes out with some great news, release dates all the time, big surprises every single time. They really don't fail us on that note. So they decided to step down for their own reasons, and I guess we'll be hearing news as going along, but one of the biggest news that we got the chance to hear is the news that we were finally looking forward to. One of them, at least. I believe the other one will be Final Fantasy VII, which the last State of Play, if you remember, really didn't give us any information. It didn't tell us anything about what they were doing or what they were going to do, and that kind of pissed a lot of people off. That pissed me off, let's be honest. I was really pissed off. I'm like, there's still no release date on this. Like, people are getting what are people getting excited for? We don't have a release date on this. This is, classic Square Enix. I hope that they don't wind up doing the same thing that they did with Kingdom Hearts on that, because that'll be a big fail on there. But they premiered the full-length trailer, and a full 8-minute trailer of Death Stranding. Death Stranding, which was done by HIDEO Kojima's much anticipated game for Sony Interactive Entertainment, and developed by Kojima Productions. Let's go down to it. I got my notes here. We're going to get right to it. The trailer starts with the character Cliff telling what looks like one of the babies they used to that everything was going to be okay, and he was actually serenading and singing to the baby. So it then goes into another clip that it just shows him caressing like an old picture. We then see this followed by a trailer, then switches over to the main character, Sam, who is played by Norman Reedus, riding a motorcycle up a hill with the birds following him. Sam then stopped at the end of the hill, almost to the fact that he almost fell off, and he stopped just in time. Next, we see a clip shows Sam at a house with a woman in a hospital as she tells Sam that we need to make America whole again. Sam then tells her America's finished. And this is a post-apocalyptic version of America, as you can see. Sam tells the ailing woman, who then turns out to be the president of the United States, you are the president of jack shit. So, you see where this is going. We then see Sam put on a uniform with his hair slicked back as the trailer shows us gameplay footage for the first time ever. Very much for the first time ever. So, from this point, we see scenes of Sam traveling to beautiful grasslands, apocalyptic environments, and snowy regions. Sam is also equipped with many items to help him along the way, including a ladder that reaches to steep mountain areas. Now, just think of Horizon Zero Dawn or Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is kind of like, the HUD is kind of like that here. So the HUD prompts up to show a variety of different items that you use as the players, select mountain climbing poles and strike down the ground, and allows you to climb down the mountain safely. Just a whole bunch of survival materials here, pretty much. And there's another scene after this that shows the character Fragile being held captive by a militant separatist group called Homo Demons, and at least that's to my knowledge what they were calling them, who goes from town to town destroying everything and everyone. We then go back to the gameplay footage of Sam actually hiding and running from people wearing yellow biohazard suits that with weapons at that. So we also see action and gameplay footage of Sam is defending himself with brawling. He doesn't do any martial arts or anything. It's just him just swinging and kicking any type of way that he can. It's just basic like ballroom brawling, and it seems like at this point no real form or technique to it. But he's just trying to survive. It suddenly rains, and the men in yellow decided to flee due to the coming BTs, which is the dark shadowy beings who lurk and destroy anyone in their path during the rainy weather. As far as we know, that they only come out in the rain. To combat this, Sam uses what is called a bridge baby, which consists of a newborn baby and a containment unit that is strapped to the suit. So if you've seen a lot of these trailers, you've seen that there was always a baby coming out of whatever it was that he was coming out of. And these babies are apparently energy sources of some kind, which we'll learn more, I guess, when the game comes out and people start playing the game and the story develops. The man talking to Sam says that connected to the bridge baby makes him feel like shit, to which Sam replies, well, it does take you to the other side. It freaks me out too. So it looks like that these babies have a big purpose in your gameplay, and as you can see, the gameplay footage, which they show next, it does, in fact, does something of that nature. It appears that to be Sam in another world, and it is inhabited by what they call the BTs. I think that's what they call the BTs. They don't exactly explain what the BTs or the DTs were. While he is in this world, a huge backpack. I mean, like this thing looks heavy as hell. Like he's wearing this huge backpack. Looks like it has a ton of whatever in there, and he's carrying it around everywhere and trying to fend off, people with it. It's crazy. But he's wearing this huge backpack and activated the bridge baby, which in fact glows, and along with this antenna or satellite that also accompanies the big backpack. So he's wearing this for protection, I guess. It's like really weird. It's like it looks like wearing a air conditioner in your back. That's what it looks like an old school heavy air conditioner, not like the smaller heavy air conditioners. By the way, I keep saying this. Why haven't we discovered or designed flat panel air conditioners yet? I don't get it. I'm tired of lifting up engines. So, come on, Japan. Where you at with that? Or do y'all use air conditioners at all? I don't know. But I digress. They catch up with him. As he walks through the dark land, the BTs discover him, and which Sam begins to run like hell away from them. They catch up to him and begin to suck him deep underground using dozens of shadowy hands trying to pull him down, almost like death. Like literally like death. If you watched the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the end of the original Raiders of the Lost Ark is kind of like that. That's what they kind of did with that. So it was really creepy, really scary, and very interesting. Very interesting to see what that entails. We go back to gameplay footage of Sam defending himself using a semi-automatic weapon, blasting away enemies that burst into flames. So he eventually does get weapons to protect himself like that. And again, these are other bees that are like just turning into dust. So there's more than just the BTs out there. There's and the yellow people in the yellow. He's going to be inhabited by a whole bunch of different enemies that he's going to have to fend off. And it looks really creepy and scary. The voice asks Sam to head west. There's a disembodied voice that asks Sam to head west. Almost, I think it's a disembodied voice, or he's talking to somebody in a walkie-talkie or a communicator or a comm or whatever. But the voice tells him to head west and finish the mission Emily started. Sam says rebuilding America isn't going to get rid of the BTs. The woman replies, "At least we have hope." The title logo shows up. The trailer has an end credit scene there where a soldier comes from out of the dark. And it not only just out of the dark, he rises from within the water. The dark tar-like water. And along with him, 4 skeletal soldiers in soldier uniforms come up as this guy smokes a cigarette. The soldier, which looks to be the character Higgs in this series, says that it's hard to make connections with when you can't shake hands. Fortunately, I have good connections on the other side. The soldier then flicks the cigarette to the tar-like water, to which it ignites flames all around him, doesn't affect them at all, and he orders them to start walking forward, and they walk forward unaffected by the fire. That's creepy and badass at the same time. So, this cast, we talked about this cast briefly, but let's get into detail about this cast. Norman Reedus plays as Sam. Everybody who's playing in this movie is playing as themselves. So they're like grafting CGI and they're playing as their own self, but as a character. So this is really, absolutely, without a doubt, a Hollywood production, game that is totally, made to be like a blockbuster movie. It's really awesome. He looks exactly like him. There's all types of detail and everything is, of his look and feel. It's just awesome. Mads Mikkelsen, I've seen this guy before. I forgot where I've seen him, but he's playing Cliff. Leah Sado is playing Fragile. Margaret Qualley is as Mama. This is a big one, and I've seen he was at the Game Awards, I believe, last year, and now we know why. Guillermo del Toro, Oscar-winning director Guillermo del Toro as Deadman. He is in this game. This is huge. Absolutely huge. For all you Pacific Rim fans, you're gonna love this. He's in here. He's gonna be playing a part. I don't know to what extent, but he is definitely in this game. It's awesome. Nicholas Wendy Renf is, and I'm probably butchering the last name, is Hartman. Also a special appearance. Tommy Earl Jenkins is Die Hard Man. Troy Baker, the only actual voice actor they're all actors, but he's like known for doing voice acting of video games and anime and TV shows. He's in here as Higgs. So I don't know if this is possibly the biggest role that he had, consistent of some of the biggest actors he have. I'm not sure. He's been in a hell of a lot of different shows and movies, and animated movies and such. And the funny part about him, he's like, I don't think I've ever seen him in a live action movie at all. I've said this many times. He has this Bradley Cooper look about him. He could absolutely do live action, movies and shows or whatever. You never see him. It's weird. I guess I don't know if I could ever talk to him. I would ask him that, and it's really weird. It's like he's a great looking dude, but he prefer, even Nolan North, like both of these guys prefer to do just voice acting as opposed to live action acting. But to them, at the end of the day, to them it's probably all acting. So in a sense, but just doing it, and it is you're playing a role, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing it or not, as long as you make that role. And his voice talents is remarkable. So, but this is awesome to see him in here, because I think he does deserve to be among all of these guys. Absolutely. Lindsay Wagner, another great established, actress, is playing Emily in this. The character and mechanical design by Yoji Shinkawa, and it's coming this year. Not only this year, it's coming during the fourth quarter, which is November 8th. I believe that's still considered the fourth quarter of the year. So this is huge news. The fact that they even came out with this weeks away from E3, I still have no idea why they decided not to go to E3. I don't think there's been any information as to why they truly have stepped down for going to E3. They were the marquee company every year. They always had these great, with the exception of last year. Last year was kind of lackluster. I don't know why. The only thing they showed was Spider-Man at the time, which was already known for coming out. There was no new releases. But the years before that, they've been knocking it out the park. Last year, Nintendo killed it. They absolutely killed it last year with all the information that they showed. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do from this point on. Are they going to come out with a state of play in a few weeks or whatever like that, announcing some more new stuff? Can we get a release date for Final Fantasy VII, for Christ's sake? And whatever else is coming out. So it'll be interesting to see from there. Square Enix. Let's move on to Square Enix here. This is interesting. Remember the Avengers game that they were talking about, that Project Marvel game that they were coming out, where they finally revealed some information on the long-awaited Marvel project. The game will be called Marvel's Avengers, and it will be revealed this year at this year's E3, right in June 10th, I believe. So here's the problem. They teased it, but somebody mistakenly leaked a little bit more information on what this entails. Now, as we know, especially of last year, Nintendo announced that they were coming out with the long-awaited Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which many of us thought that this was the case with Square Enix. We thought that Square Enix was going to be the one to come out with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. No. Nintendo dropped a bomb, and Team Ninja dropped a bomb on this, and Tecmo Koei dropped a bomb on this, saying that they're the ones that are going to be bringing this out, and exclusively to the Nintendo Switch. So now we have the other news. So we're still waiting on Square Enix, wondering whether they're going to come out if it's not going to be Ultimate Alliance 3. So this is going to be interesting because they are now coming out with this, and now apparently information has been leaked already as to what's going to be entailed with this. A man named Evan Filarka screen capped a tweet by Square Enix, I believe, or I don't know if it was Square Enix or somebody, but there was information leaked talking about actual information involving the game and what it's going to entail. The original version of the tweet said that it expect to have continuous single player experience and a co-op gameplay with up to 4 players. Does that not sound familiar to you? That's the exact formula. The exact formula of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Very interesting. The gamer will also be able to customize your hero to fit your playstyle and combine powers to defend an ever-expanding world under constant threat. Also, sounds like Ultimate Alliance. Very interesting. I mean, Ultimate Alliance is known for being a 4-player co-op or 4-player single player with four players, AIs, if you will, being able to work along with you. So this is very interesting that they're doing this. Now, granted, the one indication here that stands out is the expanding world under constant threat. And that means that one of two things. It could be ongoing, constant battles, or they'll be constantly updating online content, which I got a feeling that's what it's going to be, and I'm not going to be too much of a fan of that, because when you interact too much online, I've noticed that in a lot of games, when you start interacting too much online features to games that should be single player, it becomes a bit of a chaos. We already kind of see that with Mortal Kombat 11. Even though they have a great single player mode, the interaction of the online play plays a huge factor in why this thing keeps crashing every so often. And there are certain crashes, and it's because they are constantly upgrading the game. I don't know. I'm pretty sure NetherRealm is going to be patching that soon, and to create more stability with it. But it really is a pain whenever they do this. And I don't like games when they are more engulfed in online features and gameplays because it takes away. I do like the way, give credit to Bandai Namco, because what they always do, if you don't want to be involved with the online aspect, you can opt out to be in the online aspect. And I wish more game companies and developers do that. Give you the option to whether be, so you can be able to play the online experience without having any problems. And they started that with Xenoverse, and they continued it on from there. And I like that they do that. I wish other people would do that. And I think if you allow the offline mode to be separated from the online mode and allow you to be able to want to do that, then that's fine. I think the way that the algorithm and the way that they have it, with the way they do it, works very fine. Had no problems with that. Dragon Ball Heroes, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, is another one. You could play offline with that and, have no disruptions, no crashes, any problems. I never had any problems with those games at all. So we will see. Again, this comes up on June 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, you got to be up late for this, but I guarantee you, people are going to end up staying up for late. I am going to be checking it out on that date as well. I'm going to be covering a whole bunch of things. Hopefully, I can get Chris Milicinas back on the show. I know he's probably going to be attending E3, so it'll be very interesting to see if I can get him back on and get his views on this year as well. He was here last year with me to talk about all of the things at E3. If you don't guys know who Chris Milicinas is, this guy is a historian of video games. He has written his own book called The Art of Video Games, from Pac-Man to Mass Effect. I met him at the Smithsonian Museum years ago and reacquainted myself with him. He's been on the show twice. If anybody else to talk about video games on a deeper note, he's the guy to talk to. He's also done a few TED Talks as well on game development and such as well. So he's very knowledgeable and deep in the game. He's been in the game for a very long time. So hopefully I can get him back on to talk about it this year. It'd be awesome to hear his views on everything that's going on from there. So a little bit of news for you racing fans. A new Need for Speed game is coming this year, but will not be revealed at E3. This game will also celebrate the 25th anniversary of the game series. This is exactly like Fast and the Furious. This is a game series I'm like, I don't know if this is going to last. And it ends up lasting even more. And part of it is because they changed their game storyline format to become that of... It really has a Fast and Furious now storyline attached to it as well. So the last Need for Speed game, Speed Payback, was met with a lot of mixed reviews due to their upgrade system and action sequences. So we will see. EA hopes to come out better this time with their last installment. So it will not be revealed, but be assured, if you're a big fan of the Need for Speed series, it is coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of Konami, no, they don't have Hideo Kojima, but they do have Contra, which is also coming back very soon. Not a new Contra, but celebration of the old. Now, we talked about this a while ago with the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, which is coming out very soon, if not already. It's coming out soon, I believe. I don't know if it's coming out yet, or maybe coming out in July. And I'm sorry, June. I did look in the eShop. It is coming out very soon, but Konami is also planning to come out with Contra Anniversary Collection. This one I'm actually very interested in, because they are showing that they're coming out with a lot of great games for it, including the original arcade Contra, which is awesome. I don't know if the Contra code is going to work with that, but we'll see. Super Contra from the arcade series, Super C, which is the NES version of the game, Contra 3, the Alien Wars from Super NES, Contra Hardcore, Sega Genesis, or Sega Mega Drive, which they call it, which is the Genesis. Contra, the original Contra from the NES. Now, so you got to remember, the Contra from the arcade had better graphics at the time, whereas the Contra from the NES, which actually got a lot more play than the arcade, was actually the favorite of many in the NES days, but it was 8-bit. So they also have Contra Famicom, which is just the Japanese version of it coming out. Operation C, which was the Game Boy version. Probotector, which was the Sega Mega Drive. I don't know if this is the Japanese title for Contra, but I'm thinking it is. Super Probotector for the NES. So I'm thinking that these are the Japanese versions. And this is what they call Contra during the Japanese releases of these games. I had never heard of that game, the title of those games whatsoever, so I'm thinking that it's going to be entitled that. A free update with more games will be coming soon as well, which is set to include the following. Another Contra, Super Contra, Contra C, Contra 3, Operation C, Contra Hardcore. I now hope Contra Hardcore. Now, there was a later Contra game that came out for the PlayStation. I'm hoping that's actually it, because it was really cool. They actually redesigned the characters and gave it more of an anime feel. It was a little bit, it's very interesting. I'm hoping that's exactly what it is. But all of this is coming out. Like the Castlevania series, it will be for $20, and there's no date as to when it'll come out, but it'll be out very soon, I'm sure. So this is going to be really good. I always love the game. It's one of the most fun games ever. It really is the game that truly, truly made the Contra code, or the Konami code, very famous to this day. So it's also, if you realize, the name of this podcast, Select Start, is kind of a off play of the Konami code, because the last two buttons that you got to push for the Konami code is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. And that's where you get this from. So I'll be more than happy to check this game out and give a review of it. It should be a lot of fun. Just, if anything, just to be able to grab all these retro games of your childhood and stuff like that, and realize from a art history standpoint of how far we've come evolution-wise. This is very great. This is also a great thing to see. So here's another game to look out for I believe this week. 1980X, a game by the company High-Bit Games, which is about a kid in his life as a gamer. 1980X will also include a mashup of game genres, including beat-em-up brawlers, side-scrolling action, racing, RPG, and side-scrolling shooters. It's coming out June 20th to the Switch and the PC, with a later release soon from there. The game, I saw the trailer. It's really, really cool. Looks very interesting. I think there's going to be something deeper than just playing mashup games. Like, this kid has a story. He seems like a kid going through some type of a situation, and he's utilizing these games in order to do it. So what intrigued me about this trailer is the deeper story that may be involved in it. And they didn't really tell you exactly what was going on with the kid, but it's just saying it's a kid playing these games, and it's not just a beat 'em up brawler, it's not just a ninja game, it's not just a racing game, it's not just an RPG. It's all of that combined, but there's a story behind it, and I'm very interested in this story. If I can, I'll try to get in touch with High-Bit Games and see if I can get more information and get them on the show to talk about that on our exclusive. But I'm very intrigued with this game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do with that. It's coming out soon. Again, June 20th for all the other systems, and the Switch and the PC at a later date. So stay tuned for that. If you want more information at this time, go to 1980xthegame.com for more information there. So I will going to take a break from this segment, come back and talk about the must-have for Mario fans. That is the Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia, 30 years of the greatest game ever. We'll do that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
gamers, we are back with our new segment, which is called The Final Stage. This stage will cover all hot topics in the world of gaming or reviews that I have. So, again, thank you to our ACMG Facebook group. I recently did a poll asking them as to what they consider calling the final battle in a video game. In fact, Final Battle was one of the ones that I mentioned, but also Final Stage and Final Boss or, last level or whatever like that. Final Stage was the most voted one, and I chose that one. It is very appropriate to the segment of the show, and this is literally the final stage of the show. And again, this is where I'll be talking about topics and as well as reviews. So for this, our inaugural final stage segment, I will be reviewing Super Mario Encyclopedia, the Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia to be exact, covering 30 years of one of the most iconic games, the Mickey Mouse of all video games. 30 years, the first 30 years at least. It has been more than 30 years, and this came out last year. So, and that's not even counting Odyssey or any other games that's been coming out ever since for it. So, they have not added the newer ones, just the first 30 years from 1985 to 2015. But with that said, why this is still a must-have? Because it covers so much deep detail. This is a over 265 page book, I believe, or 55 or something like that. I'll figure it out. I believe I've written it on my notes. 55, actually. It's 255 pages of nonstop detailed information about the game and the makings of the game, and I mean everything. It's just so, I don't know how long it took them to put it together, but it's awesome. It is a absolute. If you are a fan like I am, if you're an old school gamer like I am, and used to love buying the game magazines like Nintendo Power, Game Pro, Electronic Gaming Monthly, which was one of my all-time best, and I wish they would still do magazines, at least even if it was just digital magazines. I wish they go back. I know EGMNow.com is keeping that alive and well. I don't know if they have a magazine. I need to check that, to be honest. But nonetheless, they were some of my favorite. Game Fan as well. Absolutely, Game Fan was one of my favorites. But within that, there were also strategy guides that also had some great information, illustrations, and it was more or less about the illustrations. We used to love, especially artists like me who really love character designs, like Keiji Inafune, character design for Mega Man and other stuff like that. Never know who the artist was for Mario, now that you think about it. I need to check into that. But it couldn't have been Miyamoto, but it had to have been somebody else. I don't think Miyamoto was actually the artist for that. He was just a developer. Not to say just a developer, but you get what I'm saying. But nonetheless, it just had full of colorful pages and stuff like that. And this book carries that nostalgic tradition, in my opinion. It's a beautiful book. It's a heavy book. It's a book I was actually going to purchase when I headed to Nintendo New York a few months back with my wife, but I never didn't wind up getting it. And come to find out, it sells outside of that, and thank goodness it is. Shout out to my ACMG member and good friend Craig Holland. He looked out for me. He actually saw the book at Target. It was 30% off. I'm like, awesome. Can you grab it for me? He grabbed it, dropped it off, and here we are talking about it right now. So, Craig, shout out to him. He's going to be with me attending the Philly version of the last movie for Marvel Studios, and that's Spider-Man Far From Home. We're going to be, chilling, hopefully, with a bunch of other people. Looking forward to joining with other ACMG members as well. We had a great time for two of the movies that we got to see. Captain Marvel was one of them. And what was the other one that we got to see? I forgot the other one that we went to go see. But it was definitely, I think, a Marvel-related movie. It was Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's what it was. But, we're going to be doing a lot of that soon. So, again, this is part of why I love ACMG so much. We as a group, 7 years, I believe, going to 7, just always looks out for each other from time to time. And I love that. I absolutely enjoy the camaraderie of, the Facebook group, and the fact that we can actually come out of the virtual world and actually meet each other and have fun and enjoy things together as well. But I digress. The book celebrates the first 30 years of the franchise, again, from 1985 to 2015. The games that are talked about deeply in this includes, of course, Super Mario Bros. 1, the original Super Mario Bros. 2 from Japan, which is known as the Lost Levels here, Super Mario Land, Super Mario 3, also not only does Super Mario 2 gets mentioned, but they separate it by calling our version, the American version of Super Mario 2, Super Mario Brothers USA. So in Japan, that's what they consider it, because to those who are familiar with it and to those who are not familiar with it, Super Mario came out with Super Mario Brothers 2, which in fact was an original game, originally in Japan as something else, and I forgot what it was. It's in the book. But they rebooted this game and made it a Mario game, one of the most standout contrast of Mario games that you could ever see compared to all the other games that you see throughout the years. This is still one of the most standout versions of the game series ever, and it's one of the most beloved versions of the game ever as well. They came out with that for us, which was a much more fun and easy, user-friendly version compared to the second Mario that they did in Japan, which became the Lost Levels years later for us, which in fact is one of the hardest Mario games still to this day, outside of anybody who now creates their own levels in Mario Maker 1 and 2 when that comes out. So they mentioned that there, but Super Mario Land, now chronologically they named it, so Super Mario 1, Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan, Super Mario USA, Super Mario Land, which came out after that, before that, and Super Mario 3 afterwards. Super Mario World is mentioned as well, Super Mario Land 2, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, New Super Mario Brothers, the first game to ever hit the Nintendo DS, Super Mario Galaxy, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is the one I think I actually purchased. I didn't get the first Galaxy. I believe I went and got the second one. Super Mario Land 3D, one of my absolute favorites. That is my absolute favorite. Not of all, but it was one of my... I had so much fun playing that on a 3DS. It was absolutely fun. New Super Mario Brothers 2, which also was a very fun game. And New Super Mario Brothers U, which I actually recently got for the Switch. It was my least favorite of the bunch, and that's really saying a lot. That it is really, really saying a lot there. Now, what I wish they would have done, and I haven't exactly gone through the entire book yet, but I did skim through a lot. They don't talk about the crossover series or the other series like Mario Tennis or Mario Racing or whatever like that, which I wish they kind of did, because those games expanded out into other things, especially Super Mario. But you do get 255 pages of minute detail information that covers storylines, characters, stages, specials, items, special suits, and inside info on each game. It also talks about the history of both US and Japan releases and what went down during that situation, like I just mentioned, deeply, more detailed than I gave for the Super Mario Bros. 2 or US releases as well. So all of that great illustrations and colors, the colorful books, it's just really well done. That you've grown to love is all here. All of those illustrations from each game is on here. Hopefully, they will have an updated version of this, adding the recent, including, Super Mario Odyssey, which absolutely is the best. Rather they do a updated version, or they just do a single book talking about the development of Super Mario Odyssey. I absolutely, personally, I don't know, I can't speak for every other gamer, but I believe that is my all-time favorite Mario game ever. Odyssey, I don't know how they're going to top that. I absolutely have no idea how they're going to top Mario Odyssey. It's just phenomenal, and it was a great love. If that was in fact the last Mario game we'll ever see, which I clearly doubt, they could have went out with a bang with that game. It was absolutely, undoubtedly, the best freaking Mario game of all. So, and of course, Smash Brothers. I would love to have more information on the over-the-year development of that game as well. Overall, an introduction by the manager and analysis and development, Takashi Tezuka, who talks about how he got to work on Nintendo and his experience with helping to develop the Mario games throughout the years. It's really awesome, a great introduction. Overall, this book is a fantastic book. It should be a collector's edition to any Mario or Nintendo fan out there that has loved this character for years. My only thing is that I hope they update it, but other than that, this is a definite great gift to get anybody, whether it's birthday, who is a fan of Nintendo, of course, for birthdays or especially Christmas. This is a great Christmas gift for people. And I know there's a Zelda version too. They also have a Zelda encyclopedia as well, which I was originally going to get to. But I'm glad I was able to pick up this one, and maybe down the line I'll get that one and check it out as well. But for now, if you're a Nintendo fan and you weren't aware of this, or you did and you wonder was it worth it, I can definitely say it's definitely worth it. If I give it a grade, absolutely an A+ here. So go out of your way to check it out. If you go online, you can pick it up on Amazon. Target does have it in stock, and whenever, apparently according to Craig, whenever it's on stock, it immediately gets off the shelf, especially when it's on for 30% off. So the game, I believe the book was like $40, and it was probably like 30 or 35, $40, something like that. 30% off. I think I paid for like $19.56 or something like that, to that extent. So it's worth it. It's worth the full price. It's worth the sale price as well. So go out of your way to check it out in some form or fashion. I was checking to see if they actually they do have I believe there is a Kindle version out there for people with tablets and iPads and everything. However, I never know how to purchase a book on iPad. When they say it's on there, they do have a Kindle version, but it's usually like the first few pages to sample it. But then there's never the ability to get the full pages, because I would have actually gotten this digitally and had it for my iPad or whatever like that, but there's no way of doing it that way. So I can't tell you how to do it digitally. If anybody knows, let me know, or I'll still be searching for it, because I could do a lot of even greater things with the digital versions. So, but nonetheless, it's still a great tabletop, thing to have if you're a gamer and you got other friends that are gamers and they come over to your place, and something really cool for them to check it out. So go out of your way to find it. It's out there, very easy to get. And ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this edition of Select Start. Thank you guys so very much, as always, for checking out this show and more. Please go out of your way to check us out on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean, as well as TalkTimeLive.com. You can check that out. I have some things coming up next week. This Sunday, I will be reviewing Swamp Thing, which I believe is coming out today. And after this show, and I finish, putting this out, I will be watching that as well. And some other news that has come out this week, and some really interesting news has come out this week. Some new trailers coming out we'll be talking about on Sunday, so stay tuned for that. Brandon Wright, if you guys remember him or know that name, he was the creator of the web series called Death Star. I will be having him and another guest involved with his latest project that will be coming out soon. So we'll be talking about that next week as well, so stay tuned. I will possibly have him, I believe, maybe next Wednesday, to talk about that. So stay tuned for that and much, much more. And again, there's a lot of things going on down the line. There's a lot of things going on involving Keystone Comic Con right now. I might talk about that or not. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes from there. I'm keeping an eye on things right now, but there's some things going down the line that we'll keep you informed with indefinite. So stay tuned for that and much, much more. People, thank you so very much as always. Keep supporting us. Keep this growing. And we'll stay tuned for this and much, much more. But for now, on behalf of everything going on in the world of our favorite fandoms, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.